Today is a historic day, historic for the bike industry. For you, for me, for me. I've been uploading content to social media for over 10 years. Most of these years have been related to how the bicycle industry works from the inside. And today is going to be the first time that I'll be able to see with my own eyes how a bicycle is made. For real, 100%, and you are going to see it with me. I'm not talking about how Western brands do it in Europe or the United States, where they assemble parts in their factory. I'm talking about actually going in to see how carbon frames are really made by hand. And it's also a historic day for the bicycle industry because we're going to enter the Giant factory, one of the largest in the world, one of those that produces the most bicycles every year. And a brand that, as a huge company, is publicly traded, it's one of the emblems of this country. Taiwan is very proud to have this brand here, and we're going to get to know all the details from the inside. So come with me, because today is going to be incredible. Well, here, as always, the entire Giant staff welcomes us, the select group of international press who are attending. Fortunately, we're lucky to be here. And well, the first thing is to gather us here in this meeting room. I suppose they'll give us a briefing or something like that.
What?
How are you, Iwan? Good morning.
Good morning.
Scotsman who speaks Spanish better than anyone I've ever met.
Well, hey, look, here I am. Here we are. Thank you.
Come on, let's go for it.
Today is an exciting day because really you are in a unique subset of human beings on this earth. You're going to have the opportunity in a few short minutes here to walk into Giant Taiwan Manufacturing, which is our primary performance factory. Most of the products that you've had interaction with, whether it be road or whether it be mountain, have come out of this factory. The world's best bikes are made in that factory next door, which we're about to tour.
As we were just told that today's visit is quite historic.
I want to convey to you just how exclusive it is to be in here. Giant has been making bicycles and parts since 1972, and this is only the second time in its entire history that it has opened this factory, so that the press and cameras can come in and we can all witness what they work on inside. It seems that they're going to let us record about 80% of everything they do, because they're always going to keep some things to themselves. Like good chefs, they keep some secrets for themselves so the competition can't see everything, but we're still going to see a lot.
Pretty big factory here, about 1 million bicycles per year. So this brings up the topic of what goes on in this factory next door. You've heard the rumors, you've heard that 70% of what comes out of this factory next door is Giant. What we're here to talk about today, and the remaining 30%, are other brands. So yes, we do produce bicycles, we do assemble bicycles for some other brands.
Another thing that makes this tour very interesting is that there is a high probability that the carbon bicycle you own came out of this factory. Whether it's a Giant or not, because Giant also produces for many other Western brands. If that sounds good, today we'll focus on everything about manufacturing Giant, the family bicycles. This is really interesting. We're in the first phase of the process where we first see the two elements that make up a carbon frame in action. On one hand, we have the resin here with this machine. The Giant resin, most manufacturers buy it from external suppliers. What happens is that Giant, as I said before, like any good chef, has its own special formula, which obviously they're not going to reveal to us. And here you can see this machine injecting that resin onto a sheet, a kind of press, which is going to laminate it and leave it completely flat. Here you see it, okay? This whole sheet, what it's going to do is roll up very tightly on this roll, okay? We'll leave this resin for now and focus on the other main part of a carbon frame, the carbon fibers. You've probably seen this before, these giant rolls of carbon fiber, right? They arrive at the factory like this from the supplier. And what they do is unroll through this machine that looks like a sewing machine, right? And they get positioned in this machine. As you can see, to create a sheet that's also wide and flat, you can already notice differences between factories in their quality controls to ensure that, for example, these carbon sheets, these carbon filaments, will end up being a sheet without imperfections, completely flat. So, well there, each master has his own tricks to achieve that extremely high quality standard, same, which in this case Giant assures us they have. Once they have the carbon, let's say, also laminated completely flat, what happens is this second part of the machine. You see that roll of resin up there, right? Well, that's the one that came out of this machine I showed you before back there, which was previously cooled in one of these freezers, to finish getting the consistency it needs to have, and then that sheet. What this machine does is connect the carbon fibers, the final carbon fiber sheet with the final resin sheet, and at a specific temperature and pressure, which can change depending on the bicycle model. If it's a road bike or a mountain bike, there can be more pressure, less, higher temperature, or lower. What you achieve is a perfect pressing and a bonding of the two elements. Carbon goes in the middle with resin layered on top and bottom to form a sandwich. Then what? Here finally what appears is what would be a sheet of carbon fiber, which is what later on. Look, right now they're making the cut to take the roll. That's what later on. Well, I understand that we're going to move on to the disassembly part, which we'll see in a bit if we're lucky. Very interesting, I'm excited. It's likely one of the most interesting rooms. This is the place where all those carbon sheets we've seen coming out earlier, already laminated and cooled, are cut into small pieces for a giant puzzle, which is a carbon frame. Depending on the frame, there can be 500 or 600 pieces, depending on the model and the discipline. In Taiwan, most people in charge are women. Hand by hand with each of those pieces in the right place, the right one, in the correct position. Whip. Applying the correct way of pressing with your hands and applying the right heat with the hairdryer, etc., so that the painting is ready for the next phase. It's incredible the level of specialization these people have. It's overwhelming. They told us that at least in this room, all the workers here have been working in the factory for at least 5 years. And, well, it really requires a very high level of training and specialization. Once you learn a puzzle, which would be a painting, a specific model, at any moment a new model can come in and you have to learn another puzzle that works completely differently. Imagine the attention to detail they have to maintain during all the hours they're working. Here, the slightest sheet placed in a place where it doesn't belong, or in a position where it doesn't belong, or in an orientation where it doesn't belong, or in a way that it doesn't belong. It could ruin the entire manufacturing of the frame. So wow, you're a lot. Yes, I respect these people. I knew about these processes before, but seeing them in person now makes a difference. Just the time we've been here, 15 minutes watching how precise they are when manufacturing, fabricated, how precise they are when working. The truth is, they've fully earned my respect. So I hope that from now on you also see your carbon bikes with different eyes.
Overall, in a piece in a frame like the Anthem Advanced, we've got over 700 total pieces in that frame. It takes about 20 hours of handwork per frame to get that frame done. 56 pairs of hands and 16 quality checkpoints. What's interesting about those facts is that, yeah, we're talking about advanced Second Life. But even when it comes down to our more entry-level grades of composite, a lot of that work, a lot of those quality checkpoints, a lot of the hands, those numbers really don't change. Whether it's advanced Second Life or entry-level composite, it's all handmade, labor-intensive, and time-consuming. And that's one of the reasons why people ask, why are they so expensive?
Right now we're in the X-ray room. It's not a hospital, it's a bicycle factory. What they do with the X-rays is basically they have that operator over there, they put frames, they put the wheel rims into the X-ray machine and look for anything. Any kind of impurity, any bubble, any imperfection that might have slipped in during the manufacturing process. The truth is that it's super interesting. Look, the X-ray machine is opening right now, operated by the technician. According to what they told us, this particular room operates 24/7 with several shifts a day. To check absolutely everything that leaves the factory and to be fully sure that everything is 100% verified.
We spend a lot of time, money, and effort to make sure that certain products, like road forks for example, 100% of them are X-rayed to make sure there are no flaws. Because clearly in a high-stress application like that, you don't want to have a failure. Also selection. Frames are also tested, and you can see this yourself in the X-ray.
But it's super interesting how they arrive to torture the bicycles, in quotes, to make sure of quality control. According to what we've been told, everything they do here at Giant is 20% above what the International Organization for Standardization standard requires. They take extra steps in quality control to ensure that, so that later there are no warranty issues, or at least as few as possible.
Fatigue?
Yes, fatigue. How many cycles?
It depends on the thoughts, but on the IOSA, on the cattle, on the bottom bracket area, we will test around 10,000 more cycles to ensure that it is strong enough and durable, enough to withstand the whole catalyst for other races.
Good to know. This tower is an important symbol for them and has stood here since the factory opened over 50 years ago. It's kind of like a monument with the Giant logo on it, but beyond that it has its use. It's actually a water tower. And in a facility like this, they tell us they need a lot of water for many processes, like painting, for example, for instance. We're in a final room. That's it. Obviously, they haven't shown us the whole process. We've missed a few steps along the way because there are some things, procedures, technology, machinery. Well, above all, optimization of certain ways of doing things that they want to keep to themselves. But this area is very interesting because it's where the final assembly of the complete bicycle takes place. And here you can really see how the puzzle comes together at the end. And we have workers, each working at their own station. People who are in charge of putting the bearings in the frame, people who are in charge of attaching the metal parts to the frame, people who are responsible for perfectly aligning the rear triangle with the front. In the case of double suspension mountain bikes, for example, these women, for instance, are doing all the internal wiring, putting in all the cables. And it's very interesting because notice that they have about 5 or 6 different stations spread out in this space. And the frame is mounted on a station, kind of like a robot, and when the person has finished their task, the robot moves and goes to the next station. Everything is super precise. Look at how the robot moves. Now the next one arrives. So this woman can proceed, and this one leaves. He's just following that black guide on the floor so he can recharge the next worker. Don't let yourselves be fooled. It's true that there's a certain robotic part, like this small one you can see here. It's true that there is. When it comes to cutting carbon pieces that require precision, not just millimeters, I'm talking microns, like an example I was shown of a very special part of the wheels that needs reinforcement. Specifically, it's the whole area. Where would be the layers surrounding the head of the spoke, which needs extra reinforcement? Well, for example, that part he showed us, but we can't show you. A robot cuts it to make sure that the precision of that part is, well, perfect, right? But what I mean by this is that even though there are some small automated processes, most of it is done by hand, almost everything. Maybe 80 or 90% is manual. I don't know the exact percentage. It's crazy because these kinds of processes practically don't exist anymore in any other industry. They exist. Oh my God. What pressure for this man, because the whole process we've seen ends with him. He is the last checkpoint the bicycles go through before being shipped, and he is the last piece. No part of this process, including him, can make any mistakes, right? But he's like what's it called? The cherry on top of the cake, right? I'm already back home with a little bit of your luck. But before finishing the video, I'd like to make a comment that I think is very important. Because what you just witnessed is not only the working methodology of a big company like Giant, but really this can be extrapolated to the whole country. I know Asia well. I've lived in mainland China, in Thailand, and I can assure you that Taiwan is another dimension, something very different. It's like the perfect mix between mainland China and Japan. In fact, Japan occupied the country of Taiwan for several decades until World War II, and the great industrial development is practically thanks to them. The Taiwanese are, in fact, very proud of their so-called Japanese past. So, for this reason, we can find people who, when given a task to work on, have that perfect mix. Between super high productivity, what could we expect from mainland China? That precision and technological development, which relates more to Japan, occurs simultaneously. I think it's interesting because after a week in Taiwan, I've realized that it has nothing to do with the chaos you can find in other Asian countries like Laos, Cambodia, or Thailand. If you vacation there, you know it's chaotic to get around. Taiwan is like the Switzerland of Asia. And why is that? That methodology, that work philosophy is implemented in each and every function that each of these people have to carry out in their work, in their life. Anyway, I think this nuance was very important to understand why Taiwan, Zhaoyang in particular, has become a world leader in bicycle manufacturing. I hope you really enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a big like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And above all, share it with all your cyclist friends, because I'm convinced there's a before and after. Let's take a look at our bikes. After watching this video, be very happy. See you in the next ones. Bye-bye.